And welcome to part 2, violin setup. This is primarily what I'll be doing through most of the show. So let's see how it works. First of all, you'll notice there are 2 violins. Get a lot of questions. Why 2? Is there a difference between them? Yes and no. Same pickup, so the sound is very similar. Basically different types of wood. One feels a little bit different than the other. This one is kind of the main one, I guess. It's got a little bit of a darker, kind of meatier tone, which I kind of like. And main difference is it's tuned a half step below this guy, which is a little bit brighter, a little bit punchier in the mix. Also of note is the custom gold paint job, which you can't get anywhere. So basically normal tuning, 1/2 step lower than normal tuning, because sometimes it's just easier for the song. And a lot of which one I use is dictated by what key the song is in. In the studio, obviously it's dictated by what sound I need, but in concert I don't have time to be tuning all over the place because it takes longer than it does a guitar, and it's easier this way. So most of our songs, if they're in a lower key, that one just tends to work better. If they're in the kind of the higher, sort of more energetic, that one tends to work better. That's basically it. So next thing, Mike, do you run your stuff through a pedal board like a guitar player does? Yes. Let's look at it. Oh, there you are. Hi, and welcome to the floor. So let's go through and see what's on the pedal board, and I'll try to explain how it's routed. Why is it routed that way? Why do you have that pedal? Do you actually use that sound? Generally speaking, yes. So we start here. This is a line selector. It's not really all that interesting. The reason it's there is that one violin has a little bit higher gain than the other. So I've got the volume set. That one it needs a little bit more, that one needs a little bit less. So just, you make sure that it's on the right channel for whatever violin I'm playing. Do I mess it up? Yeah, I do sometimes, but whatever. Alright, second thing, it goes to this guy. This is a super shifter, and it does a lot of stuff, like a whole lot of stuff. I use it primarily for one effect, and that is, here's your normal signal. Touch this. So it's just kind of a cool effect. I mean, and it does other stuff. Like you can make it go higher, or you can make it go lower. Get those like very white bass tones, which I never use. So let's just keep it. And don't use it all that often, but it's pretty cool. So that's that. That then goes to this, which is probably one of the most important things on the board. This is the Electro-Harmonics Poly Octave Generator, or POG, and it looks really complicated. It's really not. Basically, there's your dry signal. On the POG. What it does is you have your normal output, and then it just adds a bunch of stuff, which is all these little guys. So I can add an octave below. I can add an octave. I can add 2 octaves above. And then what gives it that kind of organ feel is the 1 octave detuned and 2 octave detuned. Again, it's kind of a more sort of spatial sort of deal. But this comes in when it's like we're getting up to a chorus, the chorus hits, and I need a little bit bigger tone. So, bam, it's still clean, it tracks really well. There's none of that digital stuff because it's all analog, and it sounds cool. So that's that. Now, the POG then goes to my distortion little area over here. This guy's first, and there's not really a lot to tell about this. There's that. Get a little bit of dirt. Again, it's good for courses. It's not a lot of, doesn't have a whole lot of hair on it, but it just kind of errs it a little bit. Let's say I want a little bit more. There you go. Use sparingly. And then there's this guy, which is the rat, and it's kind of like that thing on something illegal and wrong. Certain points in the show where, you know, it needs like some just dirty feedback or something. So you hit that and you kind of walk over to the amp and it just gets nasty and gross sounding. You'll see it. So there's the distortions. Again, with a violin, you want to use sparingly. It's a little bit goes a long way. A little, like that's a little bit, which is really not. But anyway, so moving on. We go from there to, follow me here, all the way over here. This is a phaser. I'm not sure how it works, but this is what it sounds like. Turn it on. Kind of like you're underwater. Like, you know, there'd be Snorks and SpongeBob and stuff under there. I don't know. Again, you use it sparingly. It's got a very specific tone, but there's a few songs where it kind of plays a key role. So there it is. You know, and you can the speed of the warbles or whatever you want to call them. You know, to little to just kind of flat out gross, which I don't do. You can keep it about right there. It's pleasant. You may have noticed before we continue, this guy. It's a power supply. That's it. Not much else to say about it. All right. So moving on. Go from here to the wah pedal. Any guitar player will know a wah pedal. It's called a wah pedal because you have, sort of sounds like you're saying wah. You know, and you can do some cool things with it. You can, you know, turn it on and leave it in one position, and it kind of filters your tone a little bit, so you can get some weird like spatial stuff. But it's old school, man. I mean, that's straight up Jimi Hendrix. I don't know if you need to do like a blazing guitar solo or something, you need to, there's your wah pedal. Okay, next thing in the chain, it's a volume pedal. Again, super simple. You're not hearing anything, you're hearing something. That's it. Some people just use it like on, off, on, off. However, you can use it to make some pretty cool stuff, like make swells, kind of atmospheric, right? So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Last thing, this guy. This is a big complicated monster, the DD20. Basically it's a delay pedal, and it does a lot of stuff. So you turn it on, tap in a tempo. Let's see, say I don't want 115, which is what it says it is. I want something a little faster. Oh, there's 133. Okay, that's good. So off is your normal signal, on, and there you go. And you can do all sorts of stuff with it. You know, you can make it sound kind of analog-y, which really doesn't sound all that much different at all. You know, you can kind of make it go on indefinitely. Just like that. You kind of make it twist it around, get a little crazy. One of the cool things that you can do with it is set this little thing where it says pan. Now, if you're running in stereo, you can do super cool stuff like this. Little ping pong effect. Mainly, for my taste, I'll stick it on one thing, real simple, and almost always have it on. So when you're doing stuff like your swells, kind of sounds like the beginning of Star Trek or something, right? You can turn that on, make it a little meatier. And then you just start adding combinations, and whatever the song needs, basically. Some other stuff on here. There's a tuner because you want to play in tune. And then there's the unused foot switch, which is basically just taking up space right now because I don't need it. But it's on there and I like looking at it because it kind of makes me smile. So it's not plugged in at all. And that's it. That's it for the pedal board. Basically, this is the last thing in the chain. And it goes straight to the amps, which, let's look at the amps. And the last thing in the chain for the violin is the amplifier. Got to go with the guitar amp. It's got to be a tube amp. A lot of violin companies, if they make electric violins, they say, you know, get your solid state keyboard amp. Absolutely not. You want it to rock. So you get the big fat tube guitar amps. My personal choice, got two Mesa Boogie Lone Stars. We got the traditional Lone Star and the Lone Star Special. This one's kind of beefy, a little darker. This one's a little tighter, a little punchier. Blend them together and you've got one big monster tone. And they look pretty. And that's it for the violin rig. Sweet.